and it kind of fixes the splay leg, but it did not fix it for Chilly Willy, and he couldn't get to his food and water. And unfortunately, we had to call Chilly Willy. It was not fun. I don't recommend. But it was necessary. So he was very much struggling. Oh, go away. What are you doing? Okay. Alexa, turn the media center on. Drew, do you mind grabbing a chair for Miss Michelle so that she can sit? Thank you. That is not what I clicked. Why are you doing that? Good gracious. Oh, my word. Stop. Go away. There. Thank you. Okay. Where did the Zoom go? Oh, this is fun. All right, let me make that little, get it up in the corner where it goes. Some of this gets a little cut off today because kind of borrowed these slides from somebody who had started them instead of doing it from scratch. So some of the words are going to be a little above the line, but all right, are we good? Everybody's found a place. Everybody's got lunch or not got lunch or whatever you're doing. All right, cool. All right, so it's nervous system today, yes, sir. Oh, it still didn't go. Alexa, turn the media center on. Oh, I'm gonna be playing with her now. Alexa, turn off Apple TV. I'm just gonna play for a minute. Gotta let her wait. Alexa, turn on Apple TV. Nothing in this house. Has the engineer did it all? Yeah. Okay, let her turn that on. We'll have to do the other trick. Alexa, turn the media center on.
The media center is busy. Please try again.
No, it's not.
What do you mean it's busy?
I know.
It doesn't have anything to do but to turn
It's
on.
not doing anything. Alexa, turn the media center on. There we go. Maybe. Or I'll have to do the backup method, which is never quite as good. Oh, well, there's Apple TV. Alexa, turn the media center on. Ah, okay. All right. Now she's going to play nicely, I think. There we are. All right. Ta-da! That only took 3 minutes. All right. So nervous system today. So we are moving through all of our human anatomy and physiology systems in our fourth quarter, unit 8, moving along. Last one, right? So we're going to talk about functions of the nervous system first. So your nervous system collects information about your body's internal and external environment, processes that information, and responds to it.
I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
Oh, Snoopy's back. I love Snoopy, though. Alexa, turn the media center on. You know, he's weird. Like, if it's raining, it'll rain for him. And if we're listening to music, he puts on headphones. It's really weird. It's the problem. Alexa, turn the media center on.
I tried to turn on the media center.
Alexa, you failed.
I'm working perfectly.
No,
Thank you very much.
no, you're not.
What's wrong? Just let me know.
Thank you.
I need you to turn the media center on.
I tried to turn on the media center again. Are you seeing any issues with it?
Yeah, you idiot. Okay, hold on. Let me try this other method. I don't like doing this because it doesn't work as well.
Was that for me?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Yeah,
Can
well,
you please clarify what you'd like me to do?
take a hike. It's gonna make me crazy. Okay, let's try this. Display. Orientation. Where is it? Maybe I should chill for a second. Duplicate. 1, 2. Will it do it that way? Oh no. Oh no, it disappeared entirely. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, hang on.
Go.
Hang on. It's being stupid again. Let me just. Sorry, gang. It's being dumb. Let me try it one more time. Alexa, turn on the media center. Oh, Alexa, turn off Apple TV. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. It's not supposed to do any of this.
He's fine.
I don't know why it's. Oh, it just did the thing where it zooms in and out. Well, this is our guests are getting to see how we handle technical difficulties. Alexa, turn on Apple TV. Y'all can fuss at Jason for this whenever he's home next time. You just give it a minute and let it think. Yeah, we know. Yes. Pop up the thing. Okay. Lord have mercy. All right, there. Now, that's Apple TV. Fingers crossed, gang. Alexa, turn the media center on. Really? Great job. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to turn the whole thing off and we'll just talk for a minute while I let it. Alexa, turn off Apple TV. Just turn it off. We'll let it. Oh, yeah. We'll let it chill for a minute and we'll just talk and we'll come back to the lesson because it's being stupid. So, your nervous system collects your information about your internal and external environment. Does anybody remember the main characteristics that qualify something as a living thing? Yes.
Response system.
That's the one I'm looking for. The others are like grow and develop, reproduce, right? That kind of thing. Response to stimuli. So it's important to remember that stimuli can be both internal and external, right? We tend to think about stimuli as being something from your external environment. Like, you know, we were outside, we were hot. Some of us are now sweating. I sure am, right? Mm-hmm. We tend to think about external stimuli, but you've got internal stimuli. Like, how do you know when you're hungry? How do you know when you need to pee, right? That's all internal stimuli, right? You what?
I don't know when I'm.
Oh.
Either my medicine represses that.
Oh, there's that. Yeah, there's that. That happens. All right. So you've got two main divisions of your nervous system, and one of them is all of your nerves and all of the supporting cells that go through your entire body, with the exception of your brain and spinal cord. And what do we call that part, Ridley? Peripheral. Good job. Good job. Good job. Okay. So peripheral nervous system is your basically all your web of your nerves everywhere except your brain and spinal cord. And what is the one that is the brain and spinal cord called? Eunice? Central nervous system. Very good. And that's going to process all of your information, create your responses. All right, now I'm going to give it a try for Alexa, turn on Apple TV. So your nervous system, nervous impulses are going to be transmitted by certain cells. And what do we call the cells of our nervous system, Yusuf? What do you call nervous system cells? Yeah, I was going to say, you threw your hand up so fast, you must know. Neurons, very good. All right. Now you have three types of neurons. Does anybody know what our three main types are, Eunice? Sensory, motor, and interneuron. Very, very good. All right, so you've got sensory, motor, and interneuron. And all of your neurons have three features. Did anyone notice I was wearing neuron mandalas today? Oh, yes, I am decked out. You know me in my dorky science teacher dresses. This is one of my favorites because it's really cool. So your neurons have three main features. So you've got your main cell that has your nucleus in it. And what do we call that part of the neuron, Caitlin?
Cell body.
Cell body. Cell body. And you may also hear soma. Soma is one of those words that means body, right? Like a somatic disorder would affect your body. What's a psychosomatic disorder? Anybody heard that?
Related? Like something to do with your brain, but it's not like phantom pain.
You kind of like that? Were you going to add to that? Yeah. It's kind of like when you think you're sick, but you're not really. Like your brain's telling you you're sick, but not your body. Alexa, turn the media center on. All right, so that's your cell body or your soma. And then you've got these little finger-like, yes.
I'm turning the media center off and back on because my video on, but it's just something.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't. If it were on, you would see it wouldn't be on Apple TV, but that's a good suggestion. We can try. Alexa, turn the media center off. Make sure I'm plugged in. Double check all the plugs. Double check. Falling. Check all the plugs. Yeah, all the plugs are good. All right, so
Just say turn on Apple TV, say turn on music.
no, you have to do it in order. It's a whole process, dude. So, I didn't make it up. Oh, hang on, that's promising right there, whatever that is. So anyway, you've got your okay. Alexa, turn the media center on. Let's try from scratch. So you've got little finger-like projections that come off of the cell body or the soma, and they just kind of reach everywhere. Not the big long tail, but the little finger-like ones. Do we know what those are called? That's promising. Yes.
Dendrites?
Dendrites. Okay, very good. Those dendrites. And then what's the big long tail part called? Oh. Caitlin.
Axon?
An axon. Right. All right. So Alexa, turn the media center on. So the axon is covered in something. Does anybody know what it's covered in?
Myelin sheath.
Myelin sheath. Okay. So in a minute, with any luck, we'll have a picture. I may spin my computer around because this is stupid and show you. It's never done. Has it ever done this?
No.
Prove to our guests that I'm not crazy. It's never done this. This is just craziness. So Alexa, turn the media center on. I don't even know what it's up to. So anyway, this is fun.
Maybe it's because you're being rude to her. She's like,
Yeah,
hey, no.
Maybe I could say please. So anywho,
Mom,
yes,
is that a screen share?
it does, but I just tried that and it wouldn't share over there correctly.
Can you access the slides from your phone?
No, not well enough. Now, what I can do is I can try to do the old way that I used to do it, but then it makes every video drag by like 2 seconds, and it's terrible. So what I'll do is I'm just going to give that TV a break for a minute because I don't know what its problem is, but I'm going to turn this around this way. I apologize for the tiny screen, but we're going to make do till we figure out what's up with our tech problems. All righty. Everybody can see our neuron, right? All right, so number 1 is here. These are those little fingery guys. And what are those called, everybody? Dendrites. Those are our dendrites. Very good. Number 2 is pointing to the dark thing in the center. And what's that going to be?
A cell body?
It's inside the cell body. It's inside all the cells. Nucleus. Very good. Now, the cell body would be number 3. That's what that's pointing to, the big thing. Okay, now number 4 is pointing to this little cell here. Does anybody know what those kinds of cells are called? It's that little yellow cell with the little dot in the middle. Do you know what those are called? So those are called Schwann cells, all right? And it's the Schwann cells that make the myelin sheath, right? Okay, so you have your Schwann cell, and then you have a little gap in between your Schwann cells. Does anybody know what the little gap is called? So that's called a node of Ranvier, small gap. So I want you to think of these like swimmies, swimmies, floaties that you put on your arm. And if you were to put a series of them on, there'd be a little tiny gap in between each one. All right. And then number 6 is nothing because it's a mistake. Number 7 is showing myelin, which is the material they're made of. And they go along the axon. And then what are these guys at the end? Does anybody know what that is? At the very end of the axon, do you know what that is? That's easy. That's going to be your axon terminal because that's where it ends. It's terminal, right? So here's what I want you to think about. Let's really think for a minute. If I told you that kangaroos, rabbits, and frogs employ what is known as saltatory motion, what could you infer, there's our word, about saltatory motion? Yes. That it has something to do with up and down. What else? You remember, Megan? Jumping. Okay, it has to do with jumping. Would everybody agree that frogs, rabbits, and kangaroos all jump? Okay, saltatory motion is jumping motion. What is a salto? Flip, right? And what do you have to do before you flip?
Like,
Yeah, a lot of things, says the gymnast. But you have to jump to get in the air to do the flip, right? You have to lock in for sure, right? So saltatory motion is locomotion that moves like this. All right, electrical impulses move down axons. So I want you to think about why might I be telling you about this bouncing motion? Think about that structure we just talked about where you've got like a series of floaties. All right. What do you think's happening there?
they bounce from the axon terminals to one terminal to another.
Not quite at the end of the terminal.
They do move from
the axon itself.
They move from one terminal to another axon.
They do move from one terminal to an axon terminal to a dendrite, but yeah.
The muscles are connected to make the jump.
Not muscles, but you're on the right move. You're on the right.
Electrical signal jumps from.
That's it. That's it. Okay, so when you look at an axon, it's a nice long tail. You've got a choice. Your electrical signal can just push its way through, or it can go bing, 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 bing. Which do you suppose is faster and uses less energy? Saltatory motion. Bing, 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 bing. So your electrical impulses do not push down your axons. They jump. And they jump over the myelin, connect at that node of Ranvier, jump to the next one, connect, jump to the next one, connect. And that's considerably faster than just forcing its way down the axon. Anybody know anyone who has multiple sclerosis? MS. You do.
What?
Do you know anybody who has MS? Multiple sclerosis. Dude, you're a priest.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Anybody else? Know anybody who has MS? So people with MS get very stiff muscles. It hurts to move sometimes. They kind of can't move a leg. Like our priest has it. And there are times when he'll kneel and then he can't get up. And I can see him behind the altar from where I sit in the choir. I'm like, oh, he's stuck. And somebody else has to pull him up because he just gets stuck. And that's because that myelin sheath has degraded. It doesn't function right anymore. So you don't get the saltatory motion. Instead, you're getting the pushing. So what you'll get is like push, 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 jump, 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 push, jump, jump, push. And it's not effective. So that's why people with MS struggle to move and whatnot. Alexa, turn on the media center. Maybe I'll get lucky.
Please turn on the media.
Oh, I could beg her. Could say, please, pretty please. I just don't understand why it's doing this. We'll have a video that I will skip it because you can't see it. Yeah. Yeah, that's what turning the app. There's no way to if I turn that off, like that stuff over there, that cabinet is full of stuff. I turn that off, like the whole house will not work till Jason gets home. Like nothing will work. I can't turn on lights. I'll be walking around in the dark. It's all on Alexa. So it jumps over the myelin sheath. The myelin's it's like a fatty, like a phospholipid situation. So the electrical impulses don't go through it as well, but they go over it. So they go over it. So you've got floaty space, and it just hits the spaces as it goes down. It forces it to jump, which actually makes it faster. All right. So your brain and your spinal cord are your central nervous system, right? Some kinds of information, including some reflexes, are going to be processed directly in your spinal cord. So your reflex is your quick automatic response to stimulus. So here's the deal. If I let's see, what's a good example? If I see something move out of the corner of my eye, okay, my eyes have taken that information. They've sent it to my brain to process what I might have seen. Was it a butterfly? Was it a bird? Whatever. And then it'll go back and it'll tell me, turn your eye and get a better look. Or if I touch something that's very soft, like a blanket, that is going to go from my sensory neurons to my brain to process it. Oh, this is a nice blanket. Touch it more. And then it'll go back and I'll be like, oh, then I'll rub the blanket. But if I touch something that's hot, like I accidentally touched their little ceramic heat lamp out there the other day, I immediately jerk back. It doesn't go to your brain. It goes from your sensory neuron to your spinal cord and then immediately back. Just zips right back because that's crazy, right? Your body's like, woo, you don't want to spend the time processing it in your brain. So some reflexes are going to go straight to your spinal cord and right back. Now, Your the largest region of your brain. So here's your brain. This is not your brain. I hope all of your brains are bigger than this. Some days I wonder, but I think most of you. Hey, Jordan looks offended. Why did make you think I was talking about you? Here's a brain. It's a very small brain. The largest portion of your brain is this part. What's this part called? Yeah, somebody say it. You said it. Cerebrum. All right, good job, Barrett. Cerebrum. So, and your cerebrum is going to control what? Anybody know? What else? So cerebrum is going to control learning, judgment, voluntary actions of muscles. So stepping up and down, moving my arms around, learning things, judgment. So if you damage this part of your brain, it can affect your ability to move. It can affect your judgment. It can affect your ability to learn new things. Now, your cerebrum is divided in half. And what do we call this? What do we call the halves? We have them on a globe too. Help me out, Maddox. Hemispheres, right? So you have a left and a right hemisphere. And the way it works is the left hemisphere is going to control which side of your body?
Right.
The right. And then the right is going to control the left. Okay. Now, most of you guys know my daddy's an example for this lesson because most of you guys know my daddy's had some strokes, right? So he had a stroke in his left temporal lobe, which was like right in here. Okay. That was where two of his three strokes was over here. Okay. So what part of his body do you suppose was affected?
Right.
His right side. Okay. So that means his right side doesn't move very well anymore. He's lost a lot of fine motor. He kind of drags a leg a little bit. He struggles, right? A lot on his right side. But what else did we say the cerebrum helped control? Learning and what's the other one? Judgment. Okay, this is the one that people that are dealing with stroke survivors don't often think about. And I had a dear friend tell me to look out for it, and I was grateful. So I just told another friend the other day, what you got to look out for, judgment. So that person that's had a stroke, maybe they've lost some control of their arm, their leg, this side of their body, right? They've lost some coordination, some control, some strength. They can get that back a lot of the times, and you look at them and you're like, they're good. They're good to go. And then they make a really weird choice, like a really weird choice where you're like, why would you do that? Because judgment is impaired and they can't judge for themselves. Example, my father, who was, y'all know he was just in the hospital again, right? Everybody knew that, right? Now he has oxygen. We took away his scooter because his judgment's so bad, he should not be driving himself around the town, leaving his facility on a scooter. So he took his walker the other day and walked to Food Lion in 80 degrees. Does that sound like good judgment? No. And then he got there and couldn't get back. He also walked to the nail salon to get his toenails clipped. Not things he should be doing. And it's because that part of his brain over here is damaged and he's losing judgment, right? So they say there's a left brain, right brain thing. That's not, it's a little accurate, not really accurate. You're not really left brained or right brained, but they tend to say that, people with left brain that are left brained are more linear thinkers. People that are right brained are more creative. Not necessarily true, but
So they can actually like tissue between like the right and left half.
Yes.
And it's kind of interesting because like your right hand will do something, but the other half of your brain will make the left one do something else.
Yeah.
It actually disagrees. So it's kind of like having two people.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to talk about that in a minute because I have a very specific example for that. So, does everybody know their dominant eye?
Yes.
Anybody not know their dominant eye? Okay, we're going to find your dominant eye. Make a tiny triangle like this with your hand.
Archie.
Focus on something in the distance that you can see clearly between that triangle and pull that triangle to your face. And what eye is open versus the one that's covered. Whatever one you're looking through is your dominant eye, right? So that's helpful for certain things like archery, shooting, all that kind of a deal. So you can be, who here is right-handed? Did anybody just learn that they were right-handed and their left eye was dominant, or they're left-handed and you? So you're right-handed or left-handed?
Right.
Right-handed and your left eye was dominant. So you have what's called cross dominance. So the interesting thing about cross dominance is it's less common. You too? You're cross dominant? Who else was it? You're cross dominant? Okay. So should you take up like rifle shooting, you have to learn to shoot with your left finger because you don't want to take your rifle and bend yourself over it. So if you're right-handed, yeah, you have to learn to use this eye, but you have to trigger with your non-dominant hand. Doesn't not the same if you're doing like a BB pistol or whatever, but if you're doing a rifle, it's the opposite.
So you just use your left dominant eye.
Because you won't hit your target. That'll be a problem.
Actually, I do use my non-dominant. Still.
Do you do it? You've done that? Okay. So my oldest is cross dominant, and so he's learned to fire with his left finger so that he can look through with his dominant eye. So some people will do that, but most people will learn to switch out, which is kind of weird. I have a video from Professor Dave. We all love Professor Dave about left brain versus right brain. If I can get this to work, we'll pop it up at some point, but otherwise, you know where to find it. Where do you find it? In the email at the bottom in the resources, there's like 4 places to find it, right? Okay. All right. So what's the outer layer of the cerebrum called? That's going to be in the back. The outer layer is the cerebral cortex. All right. So that's all this business here, right? So it processes information from the sense organs and it controls your body movements. So you can see why if you had a stroke or something, some kind of damage, your body movements might not be so easily controlled, right? You've also got lobes to your brain. You got a frontal lobe, right? Right in here. This is what you want stimulated if you're learning or taking a test or something. Your frontal lobe is doing that learning. You have temporal lobes down here, right? You have parietal lobe up here, and then you have occipital back here, right? So for my daddy, it was like right there. That's where his problem was, right? All right, so you have a limbic system, and this controls what? What's your limbic system do? Anybody know? You know? Voluntary movement? No, not voluntary movement. Good guess. Do you know? Sometimes I'll call this like your reptilian brain because reptiles have the same basic structures. So basically this is emotion, behavior, and memory. Okay. So memory's in there, but emotion and behavior are definitely in there. So if I came over to Caitlin and I started like raging and screaming in her face, like how might you react to that? What might you feel or think? Would you like it? You wouldn't like it. Like we've been friends for 4 years. I wouldn't scream in your face. If I suddenly did, you'd probably be like really uncomfortable, right? You might get a little panicky, a little concerned, right? That's your limbic system kicking in, going, whoa, geez, something's up. And you've also got your thalamus. This opens up. Since I can't use my screen. It's a little hard to open up, but it does. Take that off.
What part of your brain gets affected by vertigo?
So that's interesting. That's actually in your ear.
Okay. So
in your ear, you have all those like semicircular canals that spin around in there, right? And you have this whole vestibular apparatus, which is this really complex structure. All right. And there are hairs in there that as you look like little hairs, not real hairs, but little hairy structures. And as you move, those little structures pick up the direction that you're moving. If the liquid in there, parts of it can crystallize, and you get these little calcium crystals.
Oh, yes, because I started interning at a PT clinic.
Oh, fun.
And,
did they do the thing where they throw the person around?
Someone that came in with vertigo, she had to go, to the hospital in an ambulance.
Yeah, it's not fun.
The PTs are talking about, displacing the crystals.
Yeah, there that goes.
Crystals, hello.
Yeah. So there's crystals in there, and if they break loose and start floating around, they touch the little hair-like structures, and that is disagreeing with the visual input that you're getting and the rest of the proprioception that you're experiencing. And so because of that, your brain is like, I don't know where I am. So I had vertigo last year. It hit me, and it was absolutely awful. But the way that they do it is they have to determine which ear it's in. And there's a couple of tests they can do to determine which ear.
Thing.
They can do that, or you can turn your head a certain way and then another way. Like one way you won't really feel it, the other way you'll really feel it. And then what they'll do is so mine was in I think it was my right ear. But yeah, it was my right ear. So they have you turn your head and they will stack up. They'll put you on some mats. I had a friend who's a PT who did this. So thank God, because it was nice. I didn't have to pay for it. And basically what you have to do is you have to throw your body hard. You can try it yourself, but you really can't throw yourself hard enough because your own defense systems are going to kick in and go, oh, don't do that. That's dangerous. So you need somebody to kind of hold you, and they throw you back, and it causes that fluid to move. And then once they've thrown you back, then they turn your head the other way, and it basically follows the path of that vestibular apparatus structure, and it drops the crystal back in a safe spot.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're gonna die, like you are gonna throw up. It is the worst. Like, oh, everything. Like your eyes will actually do this. Like your eyes will shake because they're trying to track, and the whole room's moving. It's not moving, but it feels like it's moving.
For
But that's
so
what that
long,
is.
the patient refused to go to the hospital, but we're like,
Terrible.
"You
It's
to go
yeah.
to the hospital."
It isn't good. So inside you have this little structure called a thalamus. That's this little guy here. Alexa, turn the media center on. And that's what sends information to the proper region of the cerebrum for processing. So it's like information comes in and it's like, we'll go this way or we'll go that way. And it kind of tells it where to go. Then you've also got a hypothalamus. What's your hypothalamus do? Does anybody know? Your hypothalamus? Yeah. So it's yeah. Is it what? It kind of it's less movement as it is internal stimuli. So hunger, thirst, anger, fatigue, body temperature, all that is your hypothalamus, right? It's telling you all these different things. Alexa, turn the media center on. Oh, she is dumb. It is an emotion. So things are processed in more than one area as we're learning here. Hey. All right. So we're up here now. Cerebellum. Now I've torn my whole thing apart and it's not good anymore. I'll put my little brain over here. Maybe somebody wants to put it back together after class or well now with your board. All right, so your cerebellum, which is the blue area right here, right? This is the second largest region of your brain, and it receives information about muscle movement and body position. This is what helps coordinate your movements too. So I was telling the juniors that some friends of mine randomly found this kitten in a parking lot, and the thing walked like a drunken sailor. Like it was like everywhere, couldn't make its legs move, its head was tilted, it was all that kind of business. And that's because it had an issue with its cerebellum. So they tried to help it. It didn't survive, but if your cerebellum isn't functioning properly, that's how you'd be, right? You'd be all over the place. Now, your brain stem, which is this area down here, right? It's going to connect your brain and your spinal cord. And it basically, this is like your triage for information. Where's it going? What information is this? And what part of the brain does it need to get to? So this right here, we'll come back to it in a minute, but you see that pons right there? We'll come back to that, but that's where my dad's last stroke was. And that's crazy because I'll show you in a minute kind of what it does. But let's look here. So what lobe of the brain is this in the blue? That's your frontal. Okay, and number 2 is pointing to PPP, starts with a P. That's your parietal. 3 is going to be here's your temples, your temporal lobe. Yep, oops, sorry, clicked cerebellum too soon. And that's your occipital back there. All right, and then we'll look at this. This is showing your cerebral core. Whoa, I did that again. Hang on. That's because this, it has it's active. And if I click on it, it's going to do that. I have to click off to the side. So that's going to be your cerebrum, right? And then what is number 2 showing, do you think? Does anybody know what that structure is? The pink one there? All right, this is fascinating. So this is corpus callosum. So we talked about left side of brain controls right side of body and vice versa, right? Okay, this is kind of where that junction takes place. Okay, if it doesn't function, you were talking about how you can cut through the brain, right? There are some connections that go through the hemispheres that develop over time, but this is your main structure that starts everything off. So I used to have a student who had what is called agenesis of corpus callosum. So use your knowledge of Latin and Greek roots and tell me what that would mean.
It didn't start.
It didn't start. It didn't develop. A corpus callosum didn't develop. So brains are very plastic. So sure, she learned to walk, she learned to talk, she learned to do all of those things. But who has an internal monologue? Ah, okay. Somebody who has an internal monologue, explain what that means. Like, Ridley, what does that mean?
Anything I do, anything and everything I do has some sort of voice with it.
Yeah,
So
like,
it'd be like, I'm picking up a water bottle.
yeah, in your head, it's verbal, right? In your head, there's a verbal. Some people don't have an internal monologue. That's astounding to me because if my mouth isn't moving, my brain's mouth is moving. Like I don't understand that. But some people are like, what? I don't.
Someone
Constant talking in my head.
interviewed someone without an internal dialogue, and like they interviewed them really well so that you can understand.
Oh, I'll have to watch that. I have to find that because boy, is it weird. So this girl that I taught who had, it wasn't completely undeveloped. It was just very, very, very underdeveloped. She had a very rudimentary structure there where she should have had a functional corpus callosum. Imagine you have an internal monologue and then a second one, and they're not talking to each other. They're just talking at the same time. And that was her life. So she'd be in class and I'd be teaching and she'd start shaking her head. And when she was doing that, I knew that meant that she was hearing two voices in her head at the same time, talking to her, both loud, both blah, 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 blah. And she couldn't shut one off to hear the other or not hear both or whatever. It was just constant, like an argument in her head. And that would be a very difficult way to live, I would think. But that's why you want a corpus callosum, because you don't want that. That's awful. That's awful. What's number 3 pointing to? Does anybody know what that structure in the middle is? So that's going to be your hypothalamus. How about 4? That's your brainstem in general. And then 5 is your what? That's that cerebellum, right? Okay. So this is a video that I'm not going to show this video. I'll go back to Professor Dave in a while. But this one is basically what we just said in video form. So if you learn better with video, you can come back and watch that. So you've got, so let me talk a little bit about that brainstem structure. So we talked about that little guy called the pons, right? That little part of your brainstem called the pons. So the pons's job is to like take sensory information in from the environment and then feed it to your brain. So it's kind of like a sorting house for that information. All right, so when that gets damaged in some people, and this is what happens to most people who have strokes in that region, and we're really grateful this didn't happen to my dad. He's one of the rare cases where it didn't happen. You get something called locked-in syndrome. So imagine for a minute what would happen if the structure that is supposed to take all of your sensory information, and it's the link between your brain and the rest of your body. What do you think would happen if that stopped working?
Can't move.
You can't move. Absolutely. Can't what? You can feel some of it, but you can't necessarily process everything you're feeling, right? No, can't do that because you can't control any of those movements. Did you have?
You can't control like other bodily functions.
Yeah. So basically what happens to those people is locked-in syndrome is exactly what it sounds like. You can hear everything. You can see everything. You can feel a lot of things too, but you can't respond to any of it. You can't speak. You can't respond. You can't move. You are literally locked in your body, stuck. That's a nightmare. Think about that. Like, how rough would that be?
So it's when like you like the nervous things like get into your brain,
like they can maybe get there depending on what part is damaged, but your brain's response to it can't get back out. It's like this. It's like I used the example before. You guys may not be old enough to remember, but does anybody remember when part of the interstate just like exploded in Atlanta, caught fire, and there was like a giant hole? Yeah, there was a hole in the interstate. It's like that. Like it's not, your information is not going one way or the other way because now there's like, it can't travel. All right, so keep that in mind. We come back to those structures. So your sensory division, you have a peripheral nervous system that consists of all your nerves associated with cells that are not part of what?
Brain or spinal cord.
Not part of your brain or spinal cord. Made up of sensory division and the motor division. Sensory division transmit impulses from sense organs to the central nervous system. So you've got certain receptors that respond to chemicals If I told you the second half of the word is receptor, what would the first half be? Chemoreceptors. Very good. All right, you got that one. So what would be the ones that respond to light, everybody, then? Photoreceptors. We know this because we know that photo means light. Okay, this one's a little trickier. What are the ones that respond to touch? Caitlin? Mechanoreceptors. That one's a little different. There's probably a couple other words, roots, whatever you could have popped in there, but mechanoreceptors. What are the ones that respond to temperature? Everybody. Thermo. How do we know that it's thermo without me telling you or without you reading it? Because we can infer based on what we know, right? And what we know is that what measures temperature? Thermometer. Meter means measure. Thermo, measure. Right. And then what are the ones that respond to tissue injury? Pain receptors. All right. We know how that works. That's fun. So your motor division, which is divided into what and what? Do we know? Do you know?
Somatic and autonomic.
Somatic and autonomic. Right. Transmit impulses from from the central nervous system to your muscles and your glands. Your somatic nervous system is going to regulate processes that are under voluntary control. What does soma mean again? Body. So somatic is your body, and it's regulating what's under your control. Now, remember that your nervous system is going to filter out information, because up until the point where I say this, you probably didn't realize that your butt was on a surface. Most of you, everybody except for Asher. Oh, is your butt on a surface? Now do you feel it? Did you feel it before I said that? No, because if you felt it, unless you're uncomfortable. Because if you constantly feel it, like that's too much, your brain weeds out what you do and don't need all the time, right? You're not constantly aware of everything you're touching.
Is that why you can't see your nose?
Yes, that's why you can't see your nose. If you think about it, yep, you can suddenly see your nose, but most of the time you don't see it. And blinking, you don't notice the lack of vision for a moment, right? You kind of weed that out. So then actions of the somatic nervous system called reflexes occur automatically. Impulses controlling these actions travel on a pathway called what? A reflex arc. Okay, here's a picture of a reflex arc. Very exciting. Look at what's going on. What happened here? Who can figure out what's happening in this photo? What's happening?
Someone stepped on something pointy there for their it sent a signal to their spinal cord.
Yeah.
It automatically made them jerk their foot.
Yes. Why didn't it go all the way to the brain?
Doesn't need to.
Doesn't need to, and it would take too long. It would take way too long to go all the way to the brain and back. We're not messing with that. No, we're just gonna go straight to the spinal cord and yank our foot back, right? All right, now that one's blocked out. Autonomic nervous system. This is more automatic. This is involuntary. So it's two parts of your autonomic nervous system that are involuntary. And what are those two parts? Do you know?
Sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Sympathetic and parasympathetic. So sympathetic and parasympathetic. All right, so look at the things your sympathetic nervous system does. It dilates your pupils, it inhibits your salivation, it relaxes all your breathing tubes, your bronchi. It inhibits peristalsis and secretion, which means what's not happening. If your muscles aren't moving, peristalsis, you remember that. And if you're not secreting digestive enzymes, then you're not moving, or you're not digesting anything, right? So it shuts your digestive system off. It stimulates glucose. Look, it secretes adrenaline. What's this for? What's this response for? Fight and flight. What's this for? This is all the opposite. Hopefully what you're doing right now, you just chill. The way you remember these, okay, is that your sympathetic nervous system is sympathetic to your plight. It's sympathetic to the fact that you're about to get eaten by a lion and you need to move your butt, right? So all of this kicks in and you run, right? Or you're getting attacked by a vicious duck and you're going to fight it off, right? So it's fight or flight, right? Whatever it is, that's necessary. That's one of the best, would you rather questions. Like, would you rather fight a bear or 400 angry ducks? Like, I don't know. Yeah, the bear, I don't know. The ducks, I don't know. 400 angry ducks sounds really terrible to me.
It's remarkable.
So there you go. So your sympathetic nervous system is sympathetic to the fact that you're in danger, right? So it's going to help you out. So people often consider these, your parasympathetic is rest and digest, and your sympathetic is fight flight. There's a third option that's not fight or flight. What is it? Freeze. Anybody know somebody who is perpetually a freezer? Yep. I've got one in my family that's a perpetual freezer every time.
Sounds mean.
Yeah. And that could be good or bad. Sometimes that'll get you eaten by the big monster, and sometimes it gives you time to really think, right? So, in general, your sympathetic nervous system prepares you for intense activity and fight or flight. And then which one is going to rest and digest? Everybody? Parasympathetic is going to be your rest and digest. Just chill out. Okay, there's a flow chart of everything we just did. All the way, right? Very cool. And if you click on these, see, they go places. So if you come back to the slideshow, you can go places. All right, let's watch this on the peripheral since now we actually have a functioning video. What do you know? Do we get an ad or not? Yes, we get an ad for fitness. That's important. We do need to work out, yeah. I've been working out by chasing birds. That's what I've been doing. Let's see. Okay, thank you. That was fun.
Welcome to 2-Minute Neuroscience, where I simplistically explain neuroscience topics in 2 minutes or less. In this installment, I'll discuss the divisions of the nervous system. There are 2 major divisions of the nervous system. The first is the central nervous system, which is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. The second is the peripheral nervous system, which consists of nerves that run throughout the body. The peripheral nervous system itself is made up of 2 subdivisions. The first is the somatic nervous system, which contains nerves that carry sensory signals from the body to the central nervous system, and nerves that carry motor signals from the central nervous system to the skeletal muscles. The somatic nervous system is associated with voluntary movement. When you clicked on this video to play it, the signal to depress your finger was sent from your brain to your finger via the somatic nervous system. The second division of the peripheral nervous system is the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is sometimes called the involuntary nervous system, and it is involved in regulating the internal environment of the body. It carries signals from internal organs to the central nervous system, and from the central nervous system to the internal organs. In this way, it is involved in regulating things like digestion and heartbeat, which are generally outside the realm of conscious control. The autonomic nervous system can be further subdivided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers. The sympathetic nervous system plays a large role in stimulating and mobilizing energy resources, while the parasympathetic nervous system acts to conserve energy. For example, if you're in a frightening situation, the sympathetic nervous system will cause your heart rate to increase, your blood pressure to increase, and your sweat glands to be stimulated. If you're eating a meal, however, and are not frightened, your parasympathetic nervous system will stimulate digestion, increase salivation, and slow your heart rate. Due to these functions, the sympathetic nervous system is often described as being involved in fight or flight responses, while the parasympathetic nervous system is described as being involved in rest and digest responses.
If I am frightened while I'm eating.
Oh, you'll get a stomach ache for sure. All right, so let's talk about accidents and injuries. All right, accidents and injuries. Ouch. There's some examples of accidents and injuries. These are problems. You don't want to ever have one of these images be your brain, right? Let's not do that. All right, so look, we have a neurosurgeon and a spinal surgeon, and they have advice for you.
4 things I would absolutely avoid after being a neurosurgeon on trauma call. Without a doubt, alcohol is number 1. So many cases I see when I'm on trauma call are related to alcohol. Staying out late would be number 2. Nothing good happens after midnight. If you could see all the people who get in fights in bars late at night or out carousing or walking out in the middle of the night, stay at home, go home early. Number 3, not wearing your seatbelt. Whether you're the driver or the passenger, always wear your seatbelt. I see so many injuries that could have been avoided if people would just put on their seatbelts. Number 4, not paying attention to your surroundings. I can't tell you the number of people, especially elderly people that I see who come in, who accidentally fall downstairs and break their neck and end up being paralyzed. Really pay attention to what's around you when you're out there.
Maybe they just don't have the motor skills
maybe.
anymore.
The don't stay out late one was interesting to me because it's not necessarily about how you would behave. It's about how everybody around you would behave. For example, I don't like going out on New Year's Eve. Not because I have a problem driving home. I don't, but all the drunks around me do, and they're all on the road. I mean, they're on the road.
So I go to my aunt's house
Mhm.
and we go to a bar. So it's And there was a very loud drug lady at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing good. The later it gets, we actually were at a winery just Saturday afternoon. We went up for my birthday. No, for Sunday. It was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
For my birthday, I got to hold an otter. I was very excited. I know I saw that you did too. I've been asking for 3 years, and my husband finally was like, I guess I got to schedule it now. I've been asking for 3 years. I'm like, yeah, it's the only thing I asked for the past 2 years. Is I didn't get it. Like, I didn't get anything. So he felt bad because now I'm old and I'm 50, and he's like, we got to do this. So anyway, we went to the winery afterwards, and there was a whole group of people next to us, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to be anywhere near them when they leave here. You know what I mean?
We went for my mom's 50th birthday.
See? Because your mom and I are like this, right? It's good. But the staying out late is important because it's not about you. And they don't even have to be people that are inebriated on the road. They're people that are tired, right? And it's not just people that are driving. Clubs get rowdy, or you could be walking down a sidewalk in Savannah or whatever, and craziness happens. There was a shooting in my hometown in Virginia Beach this weekend. That never happens. There were 8 people involved in a shooting at the oceanfront. None of them were from Virginia Beach. Not a one. Not a one. And that's because it was late. They'd been drinking, they'd been whatever. And some of those people probably weren't even involved. They just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So staying out late is interesting. All right, this next guy has a bit of a sense of humor, and 2 of these are kind of jokes, but still it's interesting.
As a spine surgeon, there's 5 things I would never do. I would never ride a motorcycle on a highway unless I was trying to donate my organs. I wouldn't let my kid marry an orthopedic surgeon. I would never dive into a lake. You can't see the bottom. I would not do stem cell therapy into my own spine. The reason for that is there's no impact peer-reviewed studies that show this helps patients. Now, if you're a billionaire, you're not wrong to go ahead and throw your money at this. No one wants to have spine surgery or disc degeneration. I'm just saying there's no studies that show this actually helps. And the number one thing I would never do as a spine surgeon is I'd never operate with at least 4 to 5 of my emotional support reps. These are highly trained specialists who have spent minutes to hours training how to compliment the spine surgeon throughout the case and tell him how great of a job he or she is doing. Great job.
Right? Okay. So a sense of humor. But still, that diving into a lake is a really good one. You can't see the bottom. Don't do it. The motorcycle on the country road is one thing. Motorcycle on the highway is another, right? All right, so now we talk about drugs and alcohol. Oh, fun. Here's where I do a little preaching at you. Not too much. So you remember when we talked about how antigens and antibodies, there was like a receptor situation where like one fit with the other, one received the other, same kind of situation in your neurons. Okay, so you have an axon that goes to this dendrite, right? But they don't actually touch. There's a gap. And in between is where all your neurotransmitters are. So that's things like serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine. The more of that is free, like the more dopamine that's free, like the more bonded you feel to your partner, the more serotonin that's free, the more happy you can feel, right? You want them floating around in there. But drugs and alcohol will actually block the receptor. So that's why if you think about it, some drunk people are like really happy. Woo! Because it's not, there's a lot of serotonin there that should be getting picked up on the other side, and it's not getting picked up on the other side. And the number of times that those little receptors are blocked and blocked and blocked, it's almost like they get scarred and they don't pick up anymore. Even when there's no drug or alcohol involved, they don't get the chemicals that they're supposed to be receiving, right? So that's why, like certain medications, like Prozac was one of the first ones that came out that was a big deal. It's an SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which means it leaves more free serotonin in the synapse between the end of this axon and this dendrite. And you feel a little happier, maybe. Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people do. And it's very, very helpful. And yes, because, yeah. Yes, I think technically, yeah. SSRI is the proper category for it. Yes, but that's the effect. But yeah, you want that serotonin in there. You want that. So if you keep doing that enough times, you can cause the neuron to die because it's not being able to function as it's supposed to function. You don't want your neurons to die. Now, in some cases, They can regenerate with time and some not. So if you look here, that's a normal brain up there. And all those bright colors are just synapses just firing off. It's what they're supposed to be doing. The second one is somebody who's used cocaine for 10 days. That is not good. And the third one is somebody who's used cocaine for 100 days. And now the firing's just haphazard as can be. So they've kind of acclimated to it. You can tell it's not as bad as the 10 days, but that's not normal firing. Now, one of the most famous commercials of the 1980s. I guarantee you, have you seen it? Okay, if you haven't already seen it, I guarantee you, if you go home today and say to your mom and dad, because they're all roughly my age, they're all Gen Xers, right? Everybody's got Gen X parents. Say, I know what your brain on drugs looks like. And they're going to say, was it a fried egg? Because they will know. This, I have to show this for cultural purposes, not for scientific purposes. Now you're culturally educated. This is necessary.
Anyone out there still isn't clear about what doing drugs does? Okay, last time. This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? No.
We all saw that 4 or 5 times a day for yeah, we did.
You've probably seen this, but there was like an artist who did a self-portrait every time he was on like a different
Oh, I think I have seen that. Yes. Like how did that impact his perception of himself? And yeah, it's interesting. So the thing about this is you have to realize for cultural purposes, we were in the who was president in the early 80s? Anybody know?
Nixon.
2-term.
Wait, Reagan.
Got shot and was still at Reagan. And who was his wife? Who knows?
Wait. It's in a song. Hold on.
It is. It's probably in more than one song. Nobody knows, right? Nancy Reagan. Every first lady has historically taken on some kind of a cause, right? They come in and they're like Laura Bush was libraries, and I think Michelle Obama was healthy eating, but they pick a cause, right? I think Melania's first one was bullying, online cyberbullying. They pick a cause, and it's their thing. Does anybody know what Nancy's was? Because it was the biggest one I think any first lady's ever had. Like, just say no to drugs, right? Red Ribbon Week and all of that is Nancy Reagan. So this was perfect there in the 80s for everybody to see their brain frying in a pan. It was fun. We all watched it 5 times a day. It was a thing. So alcohol can damage the dendrites, but they can repair if you stop drinking. You can repair. Some things are not ever going to be what they were. If they die, they die, right? But some things can get better. So not all is lost. So now we talk diseases. All right, now we've got things like ALS, Huntington's, multiple sclerosis, which we talked about, Alzheimer's, cerebral palsy, epilepsy. These are all nervous system diseases. This guy's great. So this video is geared for nursing students. So it tells you this is the disease, this is what's happening, this is how we treat it, these are the drugs we use, and he condenses them and uses all these great little memory devices to help you remember what is what. I mean, he looks like a goober, but he does. He looks like a goober. I know. Oh,
hey everyone, my name is Kelvin Watchett.
Hi.
I'm a senior studying public health.
Thank you.
Health and patient concentration.
I'm happy for you.
Hey everyone, Nurse Mike here from SimpleNursing.com. Today we're tackling a quick review of the major neurological disorders, including Parkinson's, MS, MG, and ALS. We're breaking it all down, making it simple, and packing it with memory tricks to make sure it sticks. Oh, and if you're a Simple Nursing member, be sure to grab these 2 study guides located in the membership area. And let's lock this information in. All right, brains on, and let's get started. Focus on the highlighted ones below, since these are the most tested. So the nerve diseases that affect the CNS, the brain and spinal cord, we have MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and Huntington's. And for those that affect the PNS, the peripheral nervous system, we have MG, ALS, and GB, that Guillain-Barré syndrome. Now, a quick side note and a big test tip here. No drugs or interventions will cure these conditions. We can only treat the progression. So a key term to know is promote independence. For all progressive neurodisease patients, we teach never do all the ADLs for the client.
That's
And for
activities of
eighth
daily
grade,
living.
we preserve independence as long as possible. So first, we always teach
Activity
a
of daily
crane,
living.
then
Walking,
a
toileting,
crane,
feeding yourself.
then a walker, and then very last, a wheelchair.
Doing Planet Fitness for 1 cent down,
Get
$15.
it.
No commitment. Deal extends your ticket.
Immediately after talking about how people can't walk. That was nice. Oh, Lord. Okay, a swimsuit. Why did I get that?
Now let's break these
I
down
hate
one by
you.
one in a rapid fire
At least they're not political ads.
First up is MS, our multiple sclerosis. So the memory trick is MS, myelin sheath destruction from that autoimmune disease where the body attacks itself, resulting in MS, muscle spasms, and stiffness. Now we teach the clients to balance exercise and rest and avoid the 4 S's, which trigger flare-ups. Typically with all autoimmune diseases, anything that can irritate the body can cause an immune response. So avoid stress, like exercise, surgery, or even injury. The big one here is don't overdo exercises. So no marathons or intense workouts. The second S is for sickness and sepsis. We teach clients to stay healthy and free from infection. The third S is smoking. We use smoking cessation. And then very lastly, sun and extreme heat. So avoid the hot tub, baths, and saunas that are extremely hot. Now for pharmacology, we use IVIG, which kind of acts like bait, so the body attacks this substance instead of the nerve in autoimmune diseases. And then very lastly, cyclosporin, we call cyclosporin, since it spares the body from attacking itself with autoimmune disease. Next up is MG, myasthenia gravis, which we call dryasthenia gravity, since the body gets really dry and weak, like loads of gravity weighing down on the muscles, causing droopy eyelids. Now, MG is also an autoimmune disease where the body attacks acetylcholine receptors. So we get less acetylcholine, so just think less secretions, and we end up with a very dry body. Now, we teach clients to also avoid the 4 S's to avoid those triggered flare-ups. And for pharmacology, we treat the dry by giving cholinergics, which add secretions to the body. So these end in stigmine like neostigmine. So just think stigmines add secretions to my body for myasthenia gravis. Now for severe MG, this is known as a myasthenic crisis. We're talking severe diaphragm weakness and respiratory arrest. The number one goal here is airway protection. So having an innovation tray set up at the bedside is priority. And in terms of safety with swallowing before meals, we have to give those stigmines like pyridostigmine, those anticholinesterase drugs. And then very lastly, we encourage semi-solid foods.
What in the world? This guy must make a lot of money off this channel. He's got constant ads.
Welcome to Period Talk. I'm Dr.
Oh my goodness, what is this? Because it's a nursing channel, that's why. Well, that's in a couple weeks. We'll hit reproduction. That'll be fun.
High acetylcholine. So just think there's no dose.
It's my favorite one to teach because everybody squirms the whole time. I love it.
The 3 key signs to write down, and the biggest one to know is number 1, a shuffling gait with decreased arm swinging. Number 2 is pin rolling, where it looks like you're rolling a booger between your fingers. And then number 3 is tremors at rest. So we see a lot of jittery movements and weakness. So just think, you can't jump rope if you got low dope. So we typically see improved movement with more dopamine. So that's why we say, if you want to jump rope, well, then you need more dope. Now, to get more dopamine, we use the pharmacology drugs levodopa and carbidopa, which leaves more dopamine in the body, and carbidopa helps to conserve more dopamine. So the number 1 test tip to write down is avoid protein with levodopa, since it can block absorption. So the memory trick is leave the protein with levodopa. Now for Alzheimer's, just think it's all about the brain damage, resulting in dementia, that damage to the brain. So the signs and symptoms is very forgetful and loss of reality. So the key point here is to protect these clients like you would protect a child. but treat them as an adult. So for safety,
It's real fun.
we want to make
Very
sure
hard
there's
to
no rugs and we lock everything, including medication, cleaning supplies, and everything else. And for location, we want to lock doors that are leading to the outside, since clients will get lost. Huge safety risk. And for communication, key terms here: distract and redirect from reality. Do not present reality. A lot of students get this wrong, so this is the biggest test tip for this section. Remember, these clients have damage to the brain, preventing them from understanding reality. So write this down. We need to redirect and distract any dementia clients who are getting easily frustrated. Now, Huntington disease is progressive nerve degeneration that is incurable. So the key points to know is it's passed on by genetics, and it only requires one parent to pass it on. So recommend genetic counseling when someone is ready to have a baby. So just think, Huntington rhymes with one. It only takes one parent.
Doing fitness for 1 cent down.
It's gonna make so much money off this channel.
To April 16th.
I don't want this kind of a thing.
Apply for a HELOC.
Yeah.
And go from application
HELOC.
to offer and
Pass on the disease. Now for ALS, that amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. The memory trick for ALS, just think ALS like advanced life support. Clients typically are dead in 3 to 5 years. It's a very sad prognosis. We're talking total body paralysis that eventually leads to respiratory failure. So patients will need advanced life support, being put on the ventilator to keep them alive. So the key points to write down is dysphagia, that difficulty swallowing, dysphagia, that difficulty speaking, and a priority finding is increased respiratory secretions. Now, very lastly, GB, that Guillain-Barré syndrome. The memory trick is to think ground up berets. Since clients get rapidly ascending paralysis within a few days or a few hours, starting in the legs and eventually reaching the respiratory system, which ultimately kills the patient. So think Guillain-Barrés as Guillain-Barrés. Go seek medical treatment immediately because it happens so rapidly. Now, respiratory failure, early signs and symptoms to note is the inability to cough and the inability to lift the head or eyebrows. Huge, big, and complex tips. So write those down for Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Thanks for watching. Did you know you can
So he said
handcrafted study
for Guillain-Barré's paralysis, right? Types of paralysis. So I had a neighbor when I was a kid who got it, and her first symptom was she got in the car and she couldn't lift her foot to put it on the brake. She made it out to the car, but she couldn't put her foot on the brake pedal to turn the car on and start it because the paralysis starts at the bottom and works its way up. Now, what did it say to do for doors with Alzheimer's patients? Lock them, right? So when I was in college, I worked as a nursing assistant at the Roanoke United Methodist Center, and I had this adorable patient named Carolyn who stole everybody's stuff all the time. She had a whole drawer full of stuff that didn't belong to her. I mean, and jewelry, but straws, napkins, mayonnaise packages, whatever she found, she stole them, she put them in there. She lived with a little old lady who was 103, whose name was Miss Hannah Bass. And Miss Hannah Bass, one day she had long hair down to her little, way down past her butt. And she had to have it put up in a little bun every day, a neat little bun. And I was putting her hair up one day. She goes, I don't want to live with her anymore. She's up all night, bumping around and thieving. And I'll never forget it. She said thieving, so I'll never forget it. But Carolyn was a runner. So the doors all had alarms, and certain people had like little low jacks on them because they were runners. And one day I was walking down the hall and it's like, oh no, who's out? I knew who was out. I didn't even need it. I opened the door and she's shuffling away like this. And I said, Carolyn, she looked back at me and just kept no idea where she was or where she was going. She was going. We had to get the nurse to go out there and bring her back in because fortunately the whole property was fenced. But she was heading out to the magnolia tree. I don't know where she thought she was going. She was going. So yeah, you have to watch. They will run off. Like, yeah.
My grandpa who had Alzheimer's. We would find him like in the neighbor's driveway, just talking to them, and they would just like pull out a chair for him.
Yep.
And he would just talk to them.
Just sit there and talk.
Like, what are you doing over there?
Jason's grandfather was a lifelong smoker. And when he got Alzheimer's, he forgot that. So he would be talking to you and doing this with nothing in his hand. Like he'd just be, oh yeah, I had breakfast. What are you doing? But because that is like so ingrained, but he forgot that he smoked. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah,
So
like,
if
where's Papa? Oh,
yeah,
oh,
talking to the neighbors.
Talking to-
Yep.
What if you have Alzheimer's and you forget you have Alzheimer's, so you don't have Alzheimer's?
Yeah, you wouldn't even know you had it. One of our friends from church who lived in our neighborhood, lived the other end of our neighborhood, he got it and he kept taking walks and she couldn't find him. And then it got really sad because she had to put him in nursing care, like full-time nursing care up the road in a facility because he was safe there. But then it was really difficult for her because he had forgotten who she was. So they'd been married like 50, 60 years and she would come in to speak to him and he would not speak to her and he would hit on the nurses in front of her. Like he would. Like he'd be like, "Oh, you look really beautiful today. You should go to lunch with me sometime." And his wife's standing right there because he forgets that that's his wife. And that was really
that
difficult.
must have been like late stage.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was gone within about 6 months of that, but it was very hard. It's hard. It's very, very hard. Yeah. So with 100 billion or so neurons, what's the problem with some of them dying? Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, they're connected. Cells multiply all the time. Will your neurons just multiply? Barrett, what's your earliest memory? Gotta think about it.
Hold up, I got it. I know it.
Think for a minute. Drew, what's your earliest memory?
Birthday, what was the birthday I had where I had like the, might not be the earliest, but the one where you made like the Avengers, the DC characters.
That was your 4th birthday. Your superhero birthday party. How about you?
I was 3 or 4, I was watching Rain fall on.
Okay. Did you remember it?
I do.
What is it?
It was in 2014 when my sister was being born and my grandparents took me to IHOP and I haven't been back since.
Okay. All right. Maddox, do you have one?
Oh, when it was my sister's birthday and I was mad because I didn't get it.
Ah, okay. And Caitlin.
Like the very early preschool, we had like a corner where it would change.
Uh-huh.
And there was like a doctor's chair and I was sitting in the doctor's chair.
Okay. Yep.
That's what I remember.
Sometimes they're random things like that. Like mine was a little traumatic. I remember my friend, I was trying to show her my aunt's antique Barbie dolls that were stored under my mom's bed, and she had this hinge door that opened like this, and she dropped it, and it like split her fingernail in half, and we had to go to the hospital. And I remember that. So why do you remember these things?
They have some meaning.
But yes, anatomically speaking, what has to exist for you to remember that today? The same neurons. Yeah, those neurons that connected that memory. Why don't you remember everything you've ever done?
Because it would take up too much room.
It would take up too much room. Exactly. So our brains will prune away the unnecessary. Now, if you practice something, who plays an instrument? Okay. If you learn a new song on it and somebody doesn't give you your sheet music and expects you to play it again in 2 months and you haven't practiced it, are you going to remember it? But if you practice it and practice it and practice it, it gets in there and that you're smoothing out those neural pathways, right? And what I was telling the juniors is that's interesting. It works the same way for thoughts. So if you wake up every day and you're like, I don't like my room, I don't like my clothes, I don't have a car, my mom is mean, and you have paved the pathway and you do it every day, you're smoothing out and connecting, you're strengthening all those connections to the eventual my life sucks conclusion. But if you get up every day and you go, I'm blessed, I got a house, I got a family that loves me, there's breakfast downstairs, there's air in my lungs, you have now paved and smoothed that pathway to my life is great. And you absolutely can impact the way you function and the way you think by what you allow to repeat in your brain. Yeah.
What people would photograph them as.
Yeah, so that's like an interesting thing. I don't know that it's so much of a phenomenon as people make it out to be, but some people really do remember things more visually. Some people remember every detail they've ever heard. My father-in-law, I swear, remembers everything he's ever read. Not necessarily everything he's ever seen or whatever, but if he's read it, and he very, very smart. We've tried to get him on Jeopardy for years, but he says he's too boring, and he might be right. I don't mean that to be mean, but he's like not the most gregarious person. Is he? He's not very gregarious. He's pretty, but he's extremely bright. But like if he's read it, he remembers it.
It was weird since like deja vu, like every few weeks, where like
that's
I'll
fun.
see something and I'll see like it's just like an image, and I'll be like, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
I'll be able to describe it as soon as I walk away and be like every detail.
Yeah, I remember the first time that happened to me, and it was really weird because I was in a place I'd never been, and I was like, I've been here. And there's all kinds of interesting theories on why that happens. So some of your neurons will multiply, but unlike most of your, or replace themselves, but unlike most of your body cells, mature human neurons do not multiply or regenerate. You've got no division or mitosis for many of your neurons. They have limited adult neurogenesis. This is why now is the time to learn. Can't teach an old dog new tricks is somewhat truthful. It is much harder to learn new things when you're older. You are not as equipped just physiologically to do that. Use it or lose it. That's what we were just saying about, you practice a piece of music and then you don't practice it again. Like I used to be 100% fluent in French. You could have dropped me in France. I could have had a conversation with anybody. Now I'm like, I don't remember 90% of it because I have not used it, right? So I've lost it. And structural plasticity. So instead of multiplying, neurons adapt by growing, strengthening, or weakening their connections. Again, paving those pathways. So how about, does everybody react the same way to accidents, drugs, alcohol? No. Why not?
Some people have higher tolerance.
Some people have higher tolerance. So there's a number of reasons why this is. And it can be anything from your brain chemistry is different. Everybody's brain chemistry is somewhat different. Sometimes people's brain chemistry is very different. And that's why like some people take different pharmaceuticals that fall under like the psych drug category, and they can help make certain things easier if certain aspects of life are difficult. And it's really functionally, it's no different than like if you need insulin because you're diabetic. That's also a chemical thing. So it's balancing the chemicals in your body to make your functioning most optimal. And it works like a charm. And then physical differences. This one's an interesting one. So alcohol is a good example here. We've been talking about alcohol and its effects. So women generally have less alcohol dehydrogenase, which is what breaks down alcohol, than men. So it's not just that men are bigger and why they can handle more alcohol than women. A lot of us lack this particular enzyme or don't have as much of it as men. So yes, it's going to take longer to process alcohol. So this is why not everybody reacts the same. And then your mental health and your history. If somebody is always a jerk to you, they always threaten you, they're always mean, they're always nasty, they walk in the door and I've never met them before, I'm going to be like, hey, how are you? And you might be like, oh, instantly, right? Because you have a different experience with that person. So certainly experiences are different. I hear fireworks. I think it's fun. I'm excited. My dog panics. Some veterans don't like it, right? So it just depends on your experiences. All right. So do all organisms react the same to all stimuli? No, obviously. I mean, shoot, the trees love the sun. I don't do real well with it. Remember what they said about autoimmune diseases and those 4 S's and one of them being sun and heat? Lupus lady here does not do well in the sun at all. It tries to kill me when I go out there. So your key differences are things like species-specific behaviors, like a deer might run from a predator, right? Where a human might hide. Internal versus external stimuli. Organisms react to internal cues and external cues in ways that maintain homeostasis, and that's going to be different depending on the organism. And then complexity differences. Simple organisms, bacteria, show basic chemotaxis, moving away from chemicals that we may not, spray bleach on us. We're like, rinse that off. Not the same, right? Sensory limitations. Organisms only react to stimuli they can detect, right? Remember we had our flatworms, our platyhelminths? Remember that they could see, sort of, they could sense light. How about sound? They didn't have any sensory organs or system for sound. You could scream at them all day and they would still just lay there and move around and try to find more egg yolk to eat. That's all they did, right? They didn't have any way to process sound, but they could process light. Remember that they moved away from light, right? And then learned versus instinctual, and we've talked about that before. All right, so which of your activities involve your neurons? That's easy. Everything you do. Everything you do from voluntary motor control, sensory processing, your cognitive functions, the way you think, autonomic and involuntary functions, and your learning, brain plasticity. This guy, anybody seen this guy on Instagram? This guy fell into my Instagram feed. He's real interesting. So he has an interesting point. We'll watch him, then we'll go back to the Professor Dave that we missed, and maybe that other one. Yeah. But look at this guy. This is really interesting.
Firefighters pause for exactly 3 seconds at every doorway before entering a burning structure. The pause looks like tactical assessment, but fire department psychologists discovered it serves a neurological purpose. The 3-second doorway stop allows the nervous system to complete one stress cycle before entering the next threat environment. Rushing through doorways stacks stress responses. Pausing lets each wave of activation peak and begin to fall. Fire academies now teach conscious doorway pauses as nervous system management. Veterans noticed they did this instinctively. The training formalized what experienced firefighters' brains figured out naturally. Your brain responds to doorways as environment transitions. Pausing at thresholds between stressful contexts let your system recalibrate before the next demand. 3 seconds of stillness before entering the meeting room, the difficult conversation, overwhelming situation. The neural reset protocol includes transition.
Pretty interesting, right?
Stress from stacking throughout.
Pretty interesting. So, while I'm getting us back to Professor Dave, there was one other one in here. It was this one right here that y'all can watch it's about brain development in children, but we don't have time to watch it exactly because we fought with Alexa for so long. But I want you to envision an infant for a second, just kind of picture one. We've all seen them before. And tell me about its body proportions with respect to its head as compared to your body proportions. Jordan?
The head is a lot bigger than the rest of the body.
A lot bigger, right? Because our brains are very, very big. Now, when our chicks were born, could they walk? Yeah, as soon as they dried off. Could they find food?
Yeah.
Could they find water? Yeah. Could they communicate with each other? Yeah, they did all that as soon as they were born. How big is a chick's brain, do you suppose? I mean, bird brained is a thing for a reason, and these guys have definitely shown us that because they are trying to off themselves in new and creative ways every day, like every day. Every day. They're well, that didn't work. Let me try a new one. Right? So our brains are so big. Now, how long do you suppose it takes a human to get to the point where they can get themselves food and water on their own? Like get up and go get it. Not quite a decade, but 4 or 5, maybe 3, 4, get up, go get something, come back, whatever, right? So it takes us a long time. And that's because our cerebrum is so big that it accommodates a brain that is so big because we process at the highest level. We're the highest level primates, right? So we're born before we are at all developmentally mature. We're not even close to where like a lot of, a horse is born, it stands up and then it starts nursing, like that. Like it walks and follows its mom. We got to carry our babies around. But we have to have our babies that immature because think about the size of that head and look at the size of your hips, ladies. Does this look like fun? This? No. So, I mean, there's a point where you got to stop and go, that's as big as that head can get. It can't get any bigger. It's not coming out, right? So that's where we are.
Isn't there something about the shoulders that's difficult?
You can get shoulder dystocia where a shoulder can get stuck, but there are ways to just reach in and pop it back and fix it. Not the worst thing ever, but not the best, but pretty easy to manage if you know how to do it. All right, so we get another workout commercial, and then we'll get our friend Professor Dave, who we all love. Oh no, we got another one first.
It's about what you produce with it. Shit, no one is on.
Wow. Don't say that.
I'm Dave. I'm Paul. Let's talk about brands.
We all love him.
At the fictional Hogwarts School for Witchcraft and Wizardry in the Harry Potter series, students are sorted into different houses by a magic hat based on their personalities. Similarly, in elementary school, a teacher may have declared one side of your brain stronger than the other based on your personality. If you're a creative or artistic type, you would have been identified as right brain. If you're an analytical or mathematical type, you would have been identified as left brain.
You might have even used this picture of your brain to choose a college or a career. And while we each have a unique set of talents and abilities, there's no such thing as being right brain or left brain.
Not in the way your school teacher explains it to you anyway. And if there were such a thing, almost all of us would be left brain. The left cerebral hemisphere controls the right side of the body, and about 90% of people prefer to write with their right hand, indicating left brain motor dominance. Moreover, language skills are left lateralized, or largely controlled by the left hemisphere in over 90% of people. That includes 78% of people who are not right-handed.
Does this mean that the remaining few with language in the right hemisphere are right brain? More likely, these individuals have, on average, the same skills and talents as the other 90% of us left brain folk. The place in the brain where language is localized just happens to be different.
The left cerebral hemisphere is to the right-brained poet or novelist as the hamstrings and quadriceps are to a competitive sprinter. Because the ability to understand and produce language is focused in the left side of the brain in almost everyone, caricaturing these creative types as using their right brain more than their left brain is just plain silly.
Similarly, visual spatial abilities, which are localized to the right cerebral hemisphere, are skills that are absolutely critical for left brain talent, like science or engineering. The ability to interpret algebraic equations in terms of geometric curves is a specialty of the right brain.
So where did this right-left mythology come from? As we mentioned, some skills are indeed strongly lateralized to one hemisphere of the brain. But much of our obsession with the brain's left and right cerebral hemispheres may have started with studies of split-brain patients in the 50s. During this time, people who suffered multiple seizures a day underwent intense surgery to treat their epilepsy.
To calm the electrical storms that ravage these patients' brains, the nerve fibers connecting the left and right cerebral hemispheres of the brain were cut. These fibers are collectively known as the corpus callosum. As a once bright highway of information goes quiet, the consciousness changes in profound ways, and the specialties of each cerebral hemisphere are more easily disentangled.
Take one puppy home and keep it, and bring
Once
the
the
other one
corpus
back up.
callosum is severed on the operating table, the new split brain patient appears astonishingly normal at first glance. But careful experiments reveal that this person
This is what you were
really
saying.
two persons, two streams of consciousness in one body. These experiments, performed by Nobel laureate Roger Sperry, found clever ways of feeding information to only one side of the body, and therefore only the cerebral hemisphere controlling that side of the body.
In one experiment, the right hemisphere was shown an image of a snow sink, while the left hemisphere was shown a picture of a chicken. The right hemisphere was instructed to select an image of an object to match the presented scene. After selecting an appropriate object, a snow shovel, the split brain patient is asked to justify this selection. Remember, only the left hemisphere, which saw the chicken, can speak. Because only the left hemisphere can speak, the patient will give a response such as, I can use this to shovel out the chicken coop.
So why did the left hemisphere give this answer? Not being able to see the snow scene, the left hemisphere doesn't know that the shovel was selected to shovel snow. Thus, this separate stream of consciousness invents a new reason involving the chicken scene that it can see.
The right hemisphere cannot speak, but it can point to words like yes or no to answer a question. Neurologist V.S. Ramachandran tells the story of a split brain patient who was asked whether he believes in God. The right hemisphere pointed to yes, while the left hemisphere declared no. Each hemisphere, it seems, maintains independent beliefs and personalities, challenging the notion that we're each an indivisible self.
But this does not justify the pop psychology concept of left brain or right brain. The two hemispheres are different, yet brain imaging technologies like functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI, suggest that, on average, we use both sides of our brain equally. We are all brain ambidextrous.
So if there was ever a left-brained or a right-brained person, it would be the two personalities cohabitating the skull of a split brain patient. For the rest of us, these labels are as fictional as Harry Potter.
Oh, and that thing about only using 10% of your brain, you can throw that one in the garbage too. Hey guys, thanks for watching.
All right, there you go. So y'all are good. I will see you next week.
Text my mom.
Mhm.
She just wanted to go ahead and sign it for her. She had like surgery today. Her veins.
Surgery?
I think she has like her veins are like
Oh, like varicose?
yeah.
Oh,
and she had to get like surgery on it.
Well, she's got a week, so you can bring. I mean, you bring it like next week.
So I
Yeah.
just put one or more because I know I'm taking over too. But any
Yeah.
others.